Welcome back to the Fourth Way Podcast. We are going to continue our series today on the Sermon on the Mount. As a reminder, the format is that I will be reading a sonnet that I wrote as a part of my children's compilation, and then expound on the poem and discuss. The second sonnet in this series I wrote is represented by the gem amber. It covers Matthew 5:13 through 16, which talks about our salt and light, as well as Matthew 6:24, which discusses the two masters idea. And just so you can kind of get a visualization as you're going through, amber is a brownish gem, which is recognized for its ability, historically, to be charged and foster static electricity, create static electricity. So, here's the poem, Amber. Desert browns, palette formed where there's no rain, a sign of lifelessness and compromise. Same for those amidst amber waves, the grain, where life and living are dichotomized. But God made us, when we're rubbed up against, to polarize ourselves in shocking ways, not to build and electrify a fence, but attract opposites with our displays. So build your city high upon a hill, a kingdom outpost, not a nation-state. For true citizenship can't be distilled, as salt's no longer salt without its taste. Flavor and brightness should draw others in, but only works if we're God's citizens. The first stanza of the poem sets up the scene. The brown of amber is seen in the beginning scene, representing a desert. Desert browns are formed because there's no rain there, and no rain means no life. Lifelessness for humans is also a result of there being no spiritual rain, as is manifested in a willingness to compromise. Compromise results from a lack of spiritual life. A compromised human, one who claims to master himself but serves another, is really lifeless. Now, if I claim that God is my master, but then I try to master myself, or money is my master, or sex is my master, whatever, really, I am spiritually lifeless. I also represent this desert of lifelessness in the amber waves of grain, which should, for any American, kind of trigger, it's a very common phrase in one of the most famous patriotic songs, right? Amber waves of grain represents the United States here. It really could be any country. I'm not picking on the United States in particular, but since it is my homeland, I feel like I can critique it. And in our country, life and living are certainly dichotomized. Everyone has life, but not everyone is truly living. And I think you see that in our materialism and in our suicide rates and obesity and just all these things. People are trying to find happiness and joy and pleasure in all of these areas, but we are just we're killing ourselves with our and you can see that in all the amounts of antipsychotics we have to take, and families falling apart. We are so messed up, and we do not have joy, even though it's something that we pursue, and we think we're on top of the world because we're wealthy, but we're just so lifeless. We're living, we're alive, but we don't have life. So that first stanza, you see brown, the color brown come out because that's representative of amber. Talk about deserts lacking life, and then talk about how our nations are deserts. Our old man ways are desert. In the second stanza, I talk about how God's law and his lordship rub up against us. For many, it rubs them the wrong way, and they run to false gods, money, pleasure, self-rule. They try to serve two masters. But God has made it so that when his truth is taken to heart by his followers, and he is made to be Lord, that we become polarized from serving any other master. So in our desert browns, in our wayward nations, in our wayward self-rule, in our desert of lifelessness, When God rubs up against us, he polarizes us, right? Which is what happens to amber to get it to create that static electricity. It becomes polarized, right? And our polarization isn't meant to be a barrier for others to get in, though some Christians use their electric properties to keep others out. They use it to zap people. And certainly many are offended by a life dedicated to God, which calls one to moral holiness and a refusal of compromise. However, just as God created Israel to be a priesthood amidst the nations to draw others to him, God desires that our polarization with the gods of the world would attract others. Those who come to see that the gods that they serve are really no gods at all will be drawn to us by our polarized lives and the demonstration of how we're living. And just like static electricity creates attraction, so our lives should create attraction towards them and the false hope that they begin to realize their gods offer them. In the third stanza, with our one master polarization in mind, we build a city on a hill. So this is not a citadel to keep others out. It is a place of prominence for others to see. The light's more like a lighthouse or a beacon, a place to guide others in and to draw them in. It's not a spotlight to blind them. So in this big K kingdom outpost for everyone from all nations and all levels of life, it is not a nation state, nor should it ever be merged with one. That's also why in the first stanza I used amber waves of grain, because I'm also pitting my nation against God's kingdom. We're not talking about nation states here. We are talking about the big K kingdom, and that needs to be clear. Kingdom citizenship cannot be distilled. We're not dual citizens. We are citizens of the kingdom, and therefore we are aliens of this world. To try to distill citizenship into a two kingdoms mentality would be to separate the salt from the water, right? And that's not what Christians are to do. How could the salt have any influence over the water's taste if it was separated out from it? Two kingdom mentality, which argues for a little K kingdom whose values, rules, and methods are different than the big K kingdom, distills our citizenship and therefore causes us to lose our saltiness and to dim our light. Our distinct saltiness and bright light should draw others in. That only works if we're distinct and have some place which to draw them into. So once again, it's very difficult to... Sonnets are extremely dense. There's a lot of information trying to convey in a very short space. And I challenge you to go ahead and take a look at the sonnet and read the comments, which will hopefully help to draw that out. But nevertheless, hopefully this short format and condensed format and all the entendres and thoughtfulness into it will be something unique and new, and something that maybe gives you some pictures as you think through the ideas and as you read through Matthew 5 through 7 again. Hopefully it just makes things more vivid for you. Anyway, that's all for now. So peace, because I'm a pacifist. I say it, I mean it.